All right. Welcome in, everyone, to another deep dive with us. Now, today, we're going to be looking at something that's kind of a tough topic,
Yeah.
but, really, really important in today's world, and that is online scams and
Mhm.
specifically sextortion.
It's a really big problem.
Huge.
Yeah.
And we're going to be kind of using as our source material, believe it or not, a Reddit post and comments.
Yeah. From Random Stupid Questions.
Right.
So, kind of a funny subreddit to find this topic in, but it's a great post because, well, this young man, he was almost caught in one of these sextortion scams.
Right. He really was.
Luckily, he was savvy enough to kind of get a whiff that something was wrong and asked for help.
Yeah. And he posted before anything really too bad happened.
Well,
So what we want to do today is kind of look through his post and kind of the advice and the comments that other people gave.
yeah. To sort of equip all of you listening with what you need to be able to spot these things, to understand how they work, and what to do if you or someone you know encounters one of these scams.
Exactly. And I think you'll be really surprised at, the commonality of this
Yeah.
and also some of the tactics that we saw there.
Yeah, some of them were pretty shocking, honestly.
Yeah. So let's dive right in. So the original poster, he's a 20-year-old guy. He met someone he thought was a 19-year-old girl on a Discord gaming server.
Hmm.
So very typical. And they start chatting, exchanging a few photos, nothing, crazy or anything like that. And then all of a sudden, the girl starts becoming very pushy about wanting to see nude photos.
Yeah.
And even though this guy clearly stated he was not comfortable with that, she just keeps, like, pushing it. She keeps saying she's bored. It's like she's trying to manipulate him.
Right. And that's one of those classic red flags that I was talking about, like things moving too fast, being too pushy, focusing on this guy's vulnerability, that he's, open to talking to people online. I mean, that's a really common tactic that these scammers use to try to create that sense of urgency, lower your guard. And they prey on loneliness, they prey on boredom, and that desire for connection.
Right. And, it did kind of work on him initially. He was, flattered by the attention. Luckily, he didn't send anything explicit, but he also just didn't know how to disengage.
Yeah.
Like, should he block her? Should he ignore her? What should he do? So he turned to the Reddit community for advice.
Smart move.
Yeah. And the response was overwhelming. Comment after comment confirming that this was a classic sextortion setup.
Oh, absolutely.
And they explained how, these scams typically play out. The scammer will threaten to send those photos to family, to employers, post them online. Basically anything to create that panic and force a payment.
Yeah, or even just humiliate the person. It doesn't even always have to be about money, but just that fear of exposure.
And, some of the stories shared in the comments were chilling.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
People described how scammers would even pretend to be minors and then involve like fake parents or police officers to make the threat seem even more real.
Yeah, I mean, they'll pull out all the stops. They really know how to exploit that fear and shame. And, they bank on the fact that a lot of victims won't report it because they're embarrassed, which just makes them even more vulnerable. That's why talking about this is so important.
Right.
Knowledge is power in these situations. Absolutely.
So true. So true. So, going back to this Reddit deep dive,
Yeah.
it really struck me just how many people had either experienced this or knew someone who had.
Right. It's so much more common than people think.
Yeah, and then just the variety of tactics that scammers use. It's crazy.
Yeah, they're constantly coming up with new ways to try to, trick people.
So what can people do to protect themselves?
Hmm.
I mean, the comment section offered some pretty, good advice. I mean, I think the most common one was, don't give in to the scammer's demands.
Right. Absolutely. Which, when you're in that situation, when you're panicked, might seem counterintuitive.
Of course.
But giving in often just makes things worse. It shows them that you're willing to pay, that you're, susceptible to their threats, and they will likely demand more and more.
Right.
And there's no guarantee they'll actually delete the photos or stop harassing you.
Right. It's like feeding a monster. The more you give, the hungrier it gets.
Exactly. Now, some people suggested fighting fire with fire, like send back a random, obviously fake photo.
Oh, yeah.
Or flood them with pictures of Richard Nixon.
I saw that. That was funny.
Anything to, throw them off. But while those can be amusing and maybe temporarily satisfying, they're not really the most effective solutions.
Right. Because we want to stop these scams. We're not trying to play games with the scammers.
Yeah.
So what should someone do if they find themselves in this situation?
Well, first and foremost, don't panic. I know easier said than done, but keeping a clear head is absolutely essential.
Right.
And then document everything. Save messages, emails, take screenshots, anything that can serve as evidence.
Makes sense.
Yeah, you might need it later if you decide to report the scam.
Okay, so what else?
Well, block the scammer on all platforms. That limits their access to you and prevents further harassment. And you can also report them to the platform itself. Most social media sites, dating apps, they have mechanisms for reporting abusive behavior.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about reporting it to the authorities? Because that can be really daunting, I think, for a lot of people.
It can be, and it's a personal decision, but remember, you are the victim of a crime.
Right.
Reporting it not only helps you, but it can also prevent others from being targeted. The more we bring these scams to light, the more we can fight back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I think another thing that the comments really highlighted was the emotional impact of these scams.
Yeah.
Even if someone doesn't, give in to the demands, the experience itself can be incredibly traumatic.
Oh, absolutely. The shame, the fear, the violation of privacy, these are real emotions that need to be acknowledged and dealt with. And I think that's one of the, I guess, silver linings of that Reddit thread was just seeing all the support and understanding, reminding us that nobody should have to go through this alone.
Right. And that's where, self-care comes in.
Yeah.
Whether it's seeking therapy, joining support groups, or even just talking to a trusted friend or family member,
Yeah.
these steps can be so crucial for healing. And I think it's also a good reminder that anyone can be a target. Scammers don't discriminate. They just prey on vulnerabilities, and we all have them. The key is to be aware, to be vigilant, and not be afraid to ask for help.
I agree. That Reddit thread wasn't just about, sharing advice. It was about community.
Right.
People sharing their experiences, offering support, and reminding each other that they're not alone.
Right. And one thing that I think really stood out to me was the emphasis on prevention.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. A lot of commenters stressed being cautious about who you interact with online, especially when it comes to, sharing personal information or photos.
It does. I mean, it sounds like common sense, but, it's so easy to let your guard down, especially when you're, lonely, you're looking for a connection.
Absolutely. And scammers are experts at exploiting those feelings. They create these fake profiles, they build rapport, they gain your trust, and then they make their move. That's why it's so important to be aware of those tactics. If something feels off, it probably is. Trust your gut.
Yeah. It's like that old saying, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Exactly. And even if you do find yourself in a situation where you've shared something you regret, remember, it's not your fault. You are manipulated. And don't let shame or fear prevent you from getting help.
Right. And the Reddit community was really good about, emphasizing that. You're not alone. There are resources available. Organizations like the Cyberbullying Research Center and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. They offer support and guidance for victims of online exploitation.
Yeah, those are great resources. And even if you haven't experienced this directly, knowing about these scams can help you protect others. Talk to your friends, talk to your family, especially younger people who might be more vulnerable. Share what you've learned. Encourage them to be cautious online. And let them know they can always come to you for help.
Right. It's all about creating a culture of awareness and support. The more we talk about these issues, the less power they have over us.
Absolutely. And, this deep dive has really highlighted just how important community is, both in terms of seeking help and offering support. And that's something we try to foster here.
Yeah, definitely.
With everything we do, we encourage you to join our community, share your thoughts and experiences, and help us spread awareness about these important issues. We believe that knowledge is power, and together we can create a safer, more informed digital world.
Absolutely. So to wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought. What steps can you take today to protect yourself and your loved ones from online scams? It starts with awareness, continues with education, and thrives with open communication. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it informative and empowering. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time.